Hey, Childfree besties. I'm your host, Dr. Angela L. Harris, the visionary and founder of No Bibs, Burps Bottles. And I'm so excited to have you join me because we have a special guest, another Childfree bestie who's going to share their Childfree narrative with us. Before we get started, I want to thank you in advance for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or any other podcast platform, or if you're watching this on YouTube, I want to say thank you for supporting No Bibs, Burps Bottles. So let's just jump right into this interview. Now, I've had the pleasure of meeting this sister, and we met via Instagram, but I'm going to have her tell you guys a little bit about herself.
Well, hello, everybody. Hey, all my new baby free boo things out there.
I love it.
Audience. All my baby free boo things in the audience. My name is Charise Bennett. I am from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised, South Side girl. My whole entire 46 years that I've been here. And yeah, I am the founder of the Best Me Ever movement. And I like to call myself a confidence coach and a self-love strategist, because my goal with the Best Me Ever movement is to help women to grow in confidence so they can walk in purpose and achieve their goals. So that's the whole concept around the Best Me Ever movement. And an interesting fact about me, my mama gonna give me when she hear this story, but I was born premature, right? She said she heard me cry in her womb at like 7 months. And I was like, that's because I had outgrown the space. I couldn't have had no shoes in there. As my first landlord, it was time for me to move out. And I was letting y'all know I was dissatisfied with the accommodations. And so I had to leave early before it was time. That's how I ended up being born in March, which is I'm a day before you, right?
Yes, March 16th, baby.
Yes, I'm March 15th. And that's another thing we met on Instagram about, like, sororities, day before, day after, and then our birthdays are right next to each other too. So yes, I am so grateful to have found this community of women, my new baby free boo things, who are embracing the fact that we don't have children and that we are still able to grow and glow and be just as amazing as we are, the best version of ourselves. So yes, I'm excited to be here with you guys and, talk a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Tell me a little bit about what your life right now is, being Black, child-free, and a sister. How is Charise moving in the world as a child-free sister?
Well, Charise is moving through this thing with style and grace, like all the other ladies in the place. So I want to say, so I'm taking you back a little bit. You know how we're probably in the same age group, but do you remember how when we were in our 20s, right, early 30s, and coming up and educated and had good jobs and didn't have kids, how we were like rock stars, right? They considered us to be superstars. Like, you ain't got no kids, you got all this going on for you. Oh my God, you this, you that, you the one. And then somewhere around 35, when you still was moving through the world, doing your thing without kids, it's like, oh, all of a sudden you became a charity case, right? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And it's like, wait, how did I go from being up here like 2 years ago with the same stuff to being like bottom of the barrel now at 35, 36 without, it's a piece of hair that is trying to attack me. I don't know where it came from, but how did I go to being the bottom of the barrel at this place? And so I went through a phase where I felt like I was missing out, right? I felt like, okay, I'm not married. I don't have kids. Like, what is my life? I'm working and I got my education, but people are still saying, when you will have some babies. And I remember when I was younger, I would say, well, I'm not married, so that's why I don't have kids. And then it was like, well, people were like, well, you can have a kid by yourself. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but I watched my mama struggle. Why would I do that to myself? And then when I was in a relationship, and it was just like, well, we can afford them now. Because to me, if I'm gonna have a kid, I need to be able to take care of this kid. But now I'm realizing that I was constantly making excuses for what I already knew in my heart that I wasn't gonna have these kids that everybody expected me to have. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the option to have kids was completely taken away from me, which is another story I can tell you about if you want to get into it, that I was like free to be like, no, I'm good just like this. And so the very first time I did stand-up comedy, which is how I ended up in this place, was because I was talking about being a single, childless Black woman of a certain age, right? And how we needed to have our own, like, Feed the Children commercials. Like, we need to have our own commercials.
Music in the background.
Right. Have Sarah McLachlan playing a sad, slow song in the background because we need some intervention, but it's not, we don't need that intervention. The intervention is recognizing that we have value just as we are. is in accepting that this is who God created me to be. And I can be the mother to my business. I can birth business ideas. I can birth gratitude in you. I can birth self-love in you so that you can go on to grow up in self-love and to become who God purposed you to be. So taking all those concepts that everyone's been telling us our whole lives, like, oh, you gotta have kids, why don't you have kids? Or society saying, well, you're a woman at this age and you don't have a baby by now, then you're on the shelf, or you're low value, or you'll never have any of these things. And being able to come out of that deficit mindset and see my position as it is right now as the benefit that it is, as the glow up that it is, as the thing that everybody secretly wants to be that it is, it shifted my whole perspective. And that's how I was able to, grow this idea of moving from my hosting and Comical One business, doing stand-up, into this concept of like, this can be you too. And so many women with kids and without kids are struggling with the concept of how they see themselves and how they love themselves because of so many messages we receive from everybody except the person that matters the most, which is ourselves, about who we should be. And just turning that on its ear and being like, you know what, I'm good. So I'm a great auntie. I'm a great friend. I'm a great daughter. I'm a great all these things. I'm a great Charise. Like, to know me is to love me. And if you don't, it's a personal problem. So, whether I have kids or not. So yes, I'm moving through this world right now. Grateful to be who I am and the position I am that I'm in right now.
But your whole platform of what you do goes against that. So I'm curious to know, with your personal brand and that confidence and that building up of self, what skills do you think are needed, or what skills do you teach in your brand for women to be able to say, I am the glow up, I am enough all by myself?
I think for me, it came from, first, I had to grow in my relationship with baby Jesus. Like, if you follow me at all, maybe me and baby Jesus like this. And it came from recognizing that he sees me for exactly who I am, right? And so when I was able to start seeing myself how he sees me, how God sees me, I was able to realize, like, you know what, there really isn't anything wrong with me. Like, that's your opinion of where I should be. That's society's opinion of what I should have. That's patriarchy telling me that, my worth is in my womb and that without producing something from that, then my worth is negated. Like, that's everything except who God created me to be, telling me all these things about myself. And so what I started, like I said, I did that first stand-up and everybody thought it was so funny. And it's like, just things that have been going on in my head. And it made me realize, like, wait, I'm not the only person that feels like this. I'm not the only person that has struggled with this thing. Like, I have friends right now, like most of my closest friends are single without children, except like my two best friends. And so, we've had those sister girl dinners and we go on to brunch and kikiing and laughing about it and having a good time. But then you go home and you're like, man, like, why don't I have these things? And you get down on yourself because you're seeing the couples posting their family PJs at Christmas and you're seeing all these things. And yeah, you want it, but it's getting to the point where you realize that until I'm happy with who I am, I can't get those things anyway.
Yes.
I have to be satisfied with me. And one of the things I always say in the coaching thing is that you are the only person you have to spend the rest of your life with. Everybody else can go, whether by hook, crook, death, like anything can happen. But you, as Teddy Pendergrass once said, you can't hide from yourself because everywhere you go, there you are. So at the end of the day, you're going to be with you forever. And so you have to, the relationship that you think you want to have with a partner, the relationship you think you want to have with a child, you have to have with yourself first, because you're the only person that you have to be with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So
Breaking it down.
Right? Like, it's just you at the end of the day. Like, every mama gone, your husband your kids can be gone, God forbid, but nobody is left but you standing. So the love that you want from everybody else, you have to give it to yourself first.
Yes.
So I think when I arrived at that point in my life and realized, I was like, oh, so let me stop mourning what I think should be and start celebrating.
Yes. I love that part. I love that part because I do think everyone's child-free journey, whether, if you're child-free by choice, some people just know it, they know what they know. But for some, it is a journey, and it has to be a place where they kind of get to this point of acceptance. And for some, there is some grief there of what they thought would be, and now it's not. So how do you then celebrate this new identity of self? So you talked a little bit about your stand-up and your comedy and how you kind of talked about some of these themes. So tell me, how did you prepare for that? Like, what made you say, you know what, I'm going to just go out on this stage and I'm going to make light of it in a funny way, but they're really serious issues?
So the way it happened was it was insane. So I've always been, like I said, I'm in my 40s. So being a comedy writer was not something I saw as like, we didn't go to college to become, that type of writer. You went to college, you may be a journalist, but you didn't see like, oh, I can write for a TV show, I can write for a sitcom. So it never crossed my mind, but I've always been a funny person. Like at least everybody's told me so. They might have been lying for the last so many years, but we're going to go with it. But so I used to write blog posts about my journeys to and from work, right? And people would laugh and people would tell me like, oh, I said this to my friend that live in Florida and they can't wait for me to post something else. And I'm like, wait, really? People really enjoy what I'm writing. And so that gave me a sense of freedom. Like, oh, so me being my authentic self, writing these things down and just sharing them with the world while I'm dealing with the drudgery of my job moves people in a way. And so I was just being myself. And so the first time I was able to do it, I was serving at my church, Faith Movers Church. Like I said, the relationship that I found with baby Jesus is when everything really happened. So it was a point in my life where I wasn't working. I had been laid off from a job in publishing, educational publishing. I used to be an editor. And it was 2009 when everything bottomed out, right? Everybody got fired. And I was one of the everybody's. And it's right around the time I had joined the church that I'm in now. And so I wasn't going to work, so I started serving. And so I got really close with the ministry officers. And so, working on different things. So he would see my personality and know who I am. Like, so I was able to be my full self, which I didn't think I could be at church, right? Like I can't be my ignorant self. But I was able to be that with this person, Ben Chambers, like a brother to me. And so I was able to be myself. And so we were having this Wednesday night event. It was a night of comedy for Shepherd's Week. And so we had a well-known Chicago comedian coming in, Damon Williams, to perform that night. And so this is like a month before, and Ben was like, you need to open for Damon. I was like, what do you want me to do? Open the curtains? Like, what am I opening? Exactly.
What am I doing?
Well, you should do comedy. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, do it. And so I took all these stories I had posted online about my travels to this one job that had finally started because I was going way to this neighborhood. It was crazy. So I was posting about all these things. So I was able to take those things and put it into a comedy routine because I was told to do it. And because I was so uncomfortable here, I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I knew it was a God thing because I was so uncomfortable at the thought of it. Like I was excited about it, but I was like, I couldn't do that. Can I do that? Should I do that? I can't do that. And it's like, you can do that. And so when I did it, it was so freeing. And I was like, wow, it's like opened up a whole new world to me because like I am capable of doing this. So I started hosting events and being a humorist, like doing a few minutes here, like never just going to a comedy show and, on the stage being like, hey, a monkey and a dog walking to a bar. Like I've never been that. I'm more of a humorist, a storyteller from my life. And so that's the first time I did it was because I had took all these stories about me being in this neighborhood and being approached by really old men or no men at all and being questioned about why I didn't have kids and being questioned about, where I am in my life. And I was able to put that into a story that made people laugh. And I was like, wow, it connected with people in a way that I didn't know that it would. And so that's what kind of kicked off me being this person to just talk about how I felt in my body at that point in my life at that time.
And it really is, again, a celebration of self because you were able to take these themes and although there's laughter behind it, I would imagine there was also like people like, yep, I've been there. I've had the person questioning me about no kids or the old guy that's trying to holla. Like those stories are going to resonate with a lot of women because we've all been there. And then when you add the child-free piece, again, humor, comedy, storytelling, but it's also raw and it's also real. So are you still doing stand-up now?
Yeah, to a degree. So what I've done now is I've tried to marry my two loves, the comical entertainment, which is my LLC. And so my DBA is the Best Me Ever movement. So as a speaker and a coach, when I do speak at events, I'm going to make you laugh, right? Because that's just who I am. But at the same time, you're going to learn something and you're going to walk away loving yourself. You're going to walk away ready to live in your purpose.
Got it.
That's how I've put them all together so that you always gonna get a laugh, but at the same time, you're gonna walk away like, you know what? There was a message in there too that I received because I've been in that position, or I know how it feels to be feeling that way. So I always want people to walk away because I fully believe that humor has the power to heal, right? It's scripture, Proverbs 17:22. Like, you can heal through laughter. And it's the only thing that you can do that's absolutely free, that you don't have to take medicine. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's always my goal to make you laugh at first, but at the same time I want you to hear what I'm saying. It's the way I present it. It's in a way that it's more palatable,
and leave with that message. So speaking of, you know, the comic relief that you provide, in addition to the realness that you provide, and talking about your child-free life, can you really recall, like, you know, we have these experiences as young girls, you know, we're playing with our dolls and, you know, you're going to be such a great mommy. But you alluded to earlier that there's something that has happened that kind of shifted that for you, that solidified you being child-free. So speak on that a little bit. And of course, on what you feel most comfortable sharing.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's part of my testimony. So I feel like I have to share it. So in 2020, right, we're all at home. I had wrote a book about the pen. It was called Dear Baby Jesus, Prayers and Petitions to Our Pint-Sized Prince of Peace During the Pandemic. So it's all these prayers I was saying to baby Jesus during this time. And so I was getting called to do a lot of online things, right, because everybody's at home. So I was doing this online game that I was doing for different groups. I was doing like 10, 15-minute stand-up sets for different events. And so it was November. I had did comedy like that Saturday, right, for this group in Florida. Somebody I knew. So I did 10 minutes about, I don't remember what it was, but it was funny. But so I did that. And then the next day, I ended up in the emergency room. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk, couldn't walk, didn't know why, right? And so one of the things I always like joke about was how impatient I am. I'm always like, well, you know, when God was handing out the fruits of the spirit, I got to kumquat instead of patient. So I've always talked about how impatient I am. Like, I'm the first one to leave. I'm show up early, but because I'm leaving early. And so this night, I had been sitting in the emergency room for 6 hours, right? Now I'm in a wheelchair because I can't walk. I can't breathe. I'm like, how was I doing comedy yesterday? Today, I can't even talk and breathe. And I found out after I sat there, because I was about to leave at hour number 6. I'm like, that's it. I'm about to go.
Then patience.
Patience was like, But this, I'll never forget, it was this nurse. He had shocking white hair. He's like, you're almost there. Just wait a few more minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait. Because I don't like I could walk to the car, no way. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm gone. And so I found like 20 minutes later, I got to the back, found out I had blood clots in my lungs and in my legs, right?
Wow.
Where they came from, I don't know. They came from taking birth control pills of all things. I had been on birth control since I was probably 21. And this is at 42 at this age that I was. Wow. I'm still wrestling with the idea of like, I can still have kids. You know, African women have kids because I'm still feeling like this is what I'm supposed to do, right? This is what I have to do because I'm a woman. So of course I need to have kids, even though I'm content with not having them at this point. But I still feel like my mom needs a grandbaby. Though my brother has 2. My mama needs a grandbaby. Okay. So I found out that night blood clots from the birth control. So I had to come off the birth control. And through a series of unfortunate events, I ended up having a hysterectomy that February. So November was the clots. How many months is between that? I'm just bleeding. Just bleeding and clotting. Can't do much of nothing because physically I'm unable. And it got to the point where what do you want to do? I'm like, at this point, you can take all of it. Take the plumbing, you can take the vagina, you can take it. I don't even want to see it no more because yeah, I just needed it over. And when the hysterectomy happened, it freed me up from so many things I had been wrestling with. Like now it's like the question of, can I have kids or when are you going to have kids? I can't. So there's that. It's like the freedom I felt from not even have to answer that question anymore because we get it so much, you know, as women of a certain age that it's so And nobody means it to be harmful. Nobody means to be mean when they say Happy Mother's Day. And you have to run that gauntlet of Happy Mother's Day in May, though you don't have kids. I didn't have to ask that question. I can unequivocally say, no, can't do it. Ain't got the plumbing. And so because it had been so bad for so long, like I still had stress. I was stress crying just going to Target, walking past the feminine hygiene product aisle because it was such a horrible 6 months. So I wasn't able to laugh about much until it was over. Like now I can laugh about it, but the freedom to be able to say, oh, I can't because of this now.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have had to wait until that happened to be able to say that freely, which is why I'm so in love with your platform, because you give us the agency to say it freely and not feel bad about it, right? There's nothing negative about it. And we're taught for so long that it is. And so I arrived at that point where through surgery of all things, to be able to say it freely, you're already doing it for your platform without having to go through that. So I appreciate you so much for being the person to see this and say, you know what? Let's just take it back. Let's take back our agency with this one. And so I appreciate that's why I was excited to be here with you, because I appreciate you so much for giving us this platform to be able to say these things and mean them. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be Tracy Ellis Ross being the auntie, right? The rich auntie. Like we're all the rich auntie. Like, well, my bank account don't agree yet, but in my mind.
But you know what, Charise, I want to thank you for one, being so transparent, because I'm always mindful of the stories and the experiences that child-free sisters have. It's really important for me to be sensitive because everyone's story is not like mine. Like not everyone had this epiphany. Like I'm child-free by choice. For many women and for many sisters, there's a journey. But you talked a little bit, or we talked about this grief process that can happen for some individuals. So for you, it was this medical emergency, right? Due to birth control, something that you're taking to prevent pregnancy that maybe had you not caught it could have actually taken your life. So was there a point when you had to decide, when they're like, what you're going to do? And it was the hysterectomy and it was final that because of that procedure, there are no kids. Was there a grieving process that you went through, or can you remember how you just came to terms like it is what it is? And I'm not saying that lightly.
No, there was. So I remember when I was going through the process of bleeding all over everything for months on end. And I went to the doctor and she's like, well, you gotta think about it. We can do this, we can do that, because you're still at an age where you can possibly have kids. So you have to think about it. And I remember another appointment, somebody asked me, well, if you do the hysterectomy, what is your boyfriend going to say? Is he okay with you not?
So many things. First of all, how do you know I have a boyfriend? It's my body, so I really don't need so many other follow-up questions we could go with that.
I was like, you know, he's not the one bleeding all day, right? Like, why is this even a question? And so there was a part of me that was like, wow, like the kid that I always pictured is never going to happen. But I had to wrestle with that. Like, was this a kid I actually pictured me actually having and carrying it? Or was this an idea put in my head by everybody else? Right? Was this something that I truly wanted for me? Or was this what I wanted because I believe is what I should want? And so I had to wrestle with that concept for a bit, because I just remember, and it became clear to me when I was thinking about the question you asked for this interview. Like as a kid, I probably did, but as I got older and I saw what it took to be a parent, and I saw what my mom did for me, that I could still do for other people without having to physically go through that process. Because my back hurt now from carrying these around, so I can't even imagine. I've probably been on bed rest from day 3. They told me. Because and I realized, like, I don't think I ever truly in my heart felt like that was ever going to be me, because I always had a reason. I always had an excuse for why it wasn't the time. Like, oh, I'm in school. Like, oh, I gotta do this. No, I'm not working. I can't. It's always a reason why I couldn't do it. But I realized those reasons were simply because I just never really wanted to do it. I just feel like I had to do it because that's what I've been told all my life that I was supposed to do. And so the grieving came from this concept of a child that never really existed outside of what everybody else said it should be. You know what I mean?
And it's so interesting the way you said that. It's just like, is this a want because I intrinsically want it, or was it a seed that was planted and somehow grew and then it's what I want? And I think a lot of times women who are thinking about having children or even being child free really need to think about that, because, and I try not to go down the mother soapbox, because I'm all for women who want to have children, have as many as you want. But I think we, as a woman, we just need to ask those questions. Do I want this for me? Why do I want it? We get the questions of why don't you have kids? And I think that same question could be for a woman who wants kids. Why do you want kids? Is it for you? Is it for the legacy? Is it to get, a tax break? I mean, it's legitimate in regards to the reflection and the thought process behind that. Hey, I'm stopping my own YouTube video and podcast episode to let you know about BibsBurpsBottles.com. That's right, stop and visit our website today. We have a bunch of awesome child-free Pride merchandise made especially for you. Visit BibsBurpsBottles.com today. Peace. But let's talk a little bit about your friend group or your colleagues or your community. So are there positive experiences being child-free amongst these communities? Have you had negative issues? Have you had to check someone and put them in their place? Have you had opportunities to really celebrate your child-free, identity in these spaces and communities?
Yeah, I think we do our best to celebrate each other. I've always pointed out the fact that we don't get celebrated as women unless we're tying ourselves to somebody or pushing somebody out of us, right? We don't get nothing. If you're not having a bridal shower, if you're not having a baby shower, you don't get celebrated.
That's so true.
At what point do I get to celebrate the fact that I've survived being a fat black woman on this earth for 46 years? Like, when do I get to celebrate that? Like, you don't, unless you're marrying somebody or birthing somebody, and that's just simply not fair. So what we try to do as single child-free sisters amongst each other, we celebrate, right? We're gonna get together for Christmas and wear the matching pajamas with each other, right? We're gonna have the Friendsgiving. We're gonna do these things to celebrate each other, because there's no reason why we shouldn't. These things should not just be reserved for people who've made lifelong commitments to other people or to a child. Like, we deserve that same level of celebration. It's not a us versus them thing. I never want anybody to be like, you just saying that because you ain't got kids, so you got to be happy about it. I am happy about it. And you should be happy about your kids too, but don't be mad at me when I get to go overseas to see Beyonce and you don't. Like, don't be upset about that. Like, but I just want us to be celebrated more. Like, the fact that so many of my friends are small business owners too. Like, we should be having small business owner showers, right? Why aren't these a regular thing? Like, why can't we get a registry to say, hey, I need all these office supplies to staff my office? Like, why don't these things happen? And like, how do we make them happen? Because they simply don't, because we're not pushing for them. We have to change the narrative around all these things and not just be like, oh, I'll never have it because I'll never have this. We have to be the change agents at this point, because we can't wait on nobody else. Like, we have to do it. But one of the things that I have thought about as I'm getting older and acquiring things, like, what's going to happen to my shoes when I leave here? Like, where are my shoes going to go? Like, there's no successor to take my shoes. So that's something I think about a lot. But I have 2 younger cousins that are more like my nieces, that I'm already like, like when I leave my house, it will be passed down. Like, she'll be the beneficiary. So it's like, I'm always thinking about the people who, as young Black women, who are going to need these things to succeed in this life. So I can pour it into them the same way I will pour it into my own child. I can give those things to them. It's like, I do not have these conversations with them about young, they're in their 20s. Like, I don't feel like I want to do that. And you don't have to.
Yes.
Like, hell, you're different. You know what I mean? So to be able to give that to them, that I'm not saying that I didn't get it, but it wasn't given with the same sense of freedom. Like, I can give to them. You know what I mean? Because my mom has always been my biggest cheerleader. Like, whatever you want to do, go do it. But she still wanted a grandbaby. You know what I mean? She's still like, so you just not gonna give me a little girl? Like, degrees, you know them.
You have two already. But I love the fact that you're already thinking about that legacy piece, right? Because a lot of times people just think legacy, well, you have to have children in order to pass these tangible things down or these gifts down. And you're already saying that there are kids or individuals in your life that you didn't give birth to who are going to benefit from your wins. And I always try to make sure that Childfree sisters think about that, because it's like, whether it's monetary, you have organizations that you can give to, you can give to your nieces and nephews, you can give to your sorority. And it's not just about, hey, the legacy equals children. So I'm glad that you're already kind of thinking about it. And it sounds like you have a lot of shoes and somebody's going to be very, very happy.
They coming to you. Like, so I try to, like, even when I'm donating clothes, when I'm cleaning out my closet, I want to give them to an organization that, you know, has plus size women coming in there. Like, don't just put because these clothes cost, honey.
Yes.
So
don't just put them in Goodwill.
Right. They can use these clothes. I got a lot of blue stuff that somebody can have.
Yes.
You know? So
good
I'm
for
always
you
thinking about how these things go and benefit somebody else. So I never wanted to be said that just because I'm not married or I don't have children that I wasn't here. You know what I mean? I'm going to leave a legacy.
Yes.
Like, you're going to know I was here.
The imprint.
Right. There's going to be an imprint that I was here at this point. And yeah, that's basically, I love it. The whole goal.
I love it. So you talked a lot about just your positive experiences within your family. You said your mom is your biggest cheerleader, and although she wants some grandkids, I hear you said you had a niece or nephew, or your
two nephews. Mm-hmm. Right, we have two nephews. Yeah.
So mom is taken care of, but within your extended family, how are you? What do they understand this child-free journey? Are you getting pushback to adopt, to foster some kids? Like, what's happening within your family?
Well, within my family, it's a really close-knit family. And so the two nieces, two cousins I was talking about, their mothers had them late in life. So they were like late 30s when they had children. So it's never been like, this must happen. So I've never felt pressure. Now, older generation, like he passed away, but my great uncle would always be every holiday. You ain't found nobody to marry you, put no babies in you yet. What is you waiting on? Like, I'm trying to come to your wedding before I die. You're gone now. So that didn't happen.
You always got one.
I'm not making light of it. But it's like the older generation had that, like, you gotta have babies. Like, what else are you doing if you're not having babies? So that generation has mostly gone on. So my current nuclear family, well, they're not nuclear, but my current family, it's not really a big deal. Because I got money to loan out when I need to. So it's not. It works. There's no real pressure from this level to be like, you know, where are the kids? Don't you want to foster? Don't you want to adopt? No, because I've helped raise a community of children in a way. So being a god mom or pseudo godparent to other children, I give you all the love. I love the babies. Yep. I do. I'm gonna send you home. Yep. I'm gonna send you home. So no, I've never felt really that pressure. It's more societal thing, and seeing like closer friends of mine who want this so bad and still feel lost without it because it hasn't happened yet, or feeling like they have failed in some way because it haven't. And so part of why this is happening for me is that I want you to feel okay. You loving yourself enough to be okay with this situation right now. Because even if you had the husband and kids, if you haven't dealt with your own stuff, you haven't fallen in love with you, if you haven't built up your own self-esteem, your own self-worth, your own self-awareness to know who you are fully without adding all these people on, you're still going to feel that way. As soon as they don't say the right thing, as soon as the kid walks off and goes to school, you're still going, those feelings that you have right now that you're dealing with, they're not going to disappear because you got married and had a baby. Because you haven't fully come into the fullness of who you are by yourself yet. And so that's part of the mission. You got to be okay with you right now without all those other things to take up space in your mind, take up space in your heart, take up space in your life, to distract or detract from the fact that you have to deal with you first. Yes. You get rid of you and all the feelings that you're dealing with inside yourself.
The nuggets and the jewels, if there is a takeaway, it's you first. You have to start inward before you can give anything outward. And I love that message is consistent in your life, right? Because a lot of times we'll miss the mark with that. So I want to talk a little bit about dating. And so a question that I often ask the child-free besties is that, you know, when we are in this child-free space, living our best child-free life, and those who are single, ready to mingle, it's thinking about what is that going to look like and be like for you. So with the dating, you know, what's off limits? What are your boundaries? You know, are you dating someone who just had a newborn, or they have to have grown kids? Like, you know, is it a deal breaker if they, you know, have kids? So where's Charise at?
So I am in a relationship now. Like, we've been in a
Okay.
relationship for years. We committed. He has three daughters, right? So first I was like, oh, girls, I don't know, they ain't like me off the top. Then I met them, they love me. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. But they're both older, like they're grown on their own, minding their business. And then the one that's younger, she's with her mom, but when she comes over, we hang out. It's no big deal because she knows she can come to me just to talk. Like, I'm not trying to be your mom. I mean, don't you go sweep this kitchen, but I'm not trying to be your mom. You know what I mean?
It's the room.
Right. So but prior to this relationship, as far as dating, I'm newborn. No, not never. No, because that baby still smell like the woman that you was in. So you take him over here. What?
Yeah, that's too young. Yeah,
that's way young. Even if they were, they had to be old enough to go without me having to take them. Like, I've never wanted to carry a car seat. I've never wanted to have to take you to the bathroom at the movies and we miss half the show. Like,
we need the older kids. The older kids.
I paid too much money for this ticket. I'm not missing nothing. You gonna have
Got
to
it.
But I can't see you because if something happens to you, I never be able to do it myself. So like, I don't. You got to be at an age where you are able to fend for yourself.
Yeah,
and not have to be involved. So
and I appreciate that because I think there's different schools of thought for some women, right? And really what matter is your school of thought. But with being in a relationship where your partner has a young child, for some women, they're like that automatically makes you stepmom or bonus mom. And I've heard those terms. I personally don't know the difference. I don't know if bonus mom is stepmom or if they're just different. But what are your thoughts about that? Because even though this young child is with their mom, some may say when you date anyone that has a kid, you should automatically be thinking of yourself as a stepmom. Thoughts?
I don't think it's an automatic thing. I think that if you and that partner have established that the role that you're going to play in this child's life, then you figure out what that's going to be. I'm not going to assume because I'm dating you that automatically I can tell your child what to do. I'm not automatically stepmom. I'm not automatically, did you play? That's not who I am because it had nothing to do with how that child came to be. So I'm not going to step into to overtake somebody's role. Now, if you're asking me my opinion about things, yeah, I'll give it to you, but I'm not going to assume that what I say is going to override anything else unless we get to the point where we're getting married. And then at that point, we all have a conversation, me, you, that child's mom, to figure out what this relationship dynamic is going to look like. Because I'm not going to put my hand on your child because that's not my child. You know what I'm saying? But with my kid, I was spanked because I birthed him. You're going to get the discipline that I would give in love. But you're never going to be able to say, she hit me and did it. We're not never doing that.
Yeah.
We had to have those conversations to establish what that relationship will be. Like, I don't expect to automatically be stepmom. Like, I've never, no.
Yeah. And for all the child-free besties or anyone watching this, if there's a difference between stepmom and bonus mom, put it in the comments because I hear those terms. And again, I love to know if there's a difference or if they're just used interchangeably. So Charise, as we're kind of coming to a close, you know, a lot of times there are people who understand why I started No Bibs, Burps, Bottles with the focus being on us, for us, by us, Black child-free women. And so when we talk about being Black, that's a whole different identity that comes with this celebrations, wins, and sometimes losses. And then with womanhood, same thing. And then you add Black, woman, child-free. So when I share being Black, being child-free, being woman, how do those identities for you intersect? What does it mean for you to be a Black child-free woman?
Wow. So for me, I just remember being in college as an undergrad, right? And I can remember I went to U of I. It's a Big Ten university. The percentage of white to black, insane as you would expect. And I just remember white girls being in class talking about their boyfriends and how they were there to find husbands to get married, right? That was the narrative for them. That was never the narrative. I'm here to get this education so I can make some more money and take care of my family.
And mama won't be mad.
Right? So for me, that was never the concept. And now I see my friends from high school who have kids that are going off to college and everything. I'm just like, wow, like did that. But I also notice I look so much younger than them. We the same age, really? That's what? But that's what that is. But being a black woman in itself is, while it's hard every day, it's a joy every day. Because I get to be in this skin, in this body, on this earth, representing all that I represent. Whether you like it or not, this is who I am, this is who I get to be. And then you add the part about being child free on top of that. Like, to me, I feel like we should be representatives of what's possible. That this idea of patriarchy that has been drilled into us between white supremacy, patriarchy, and just the general misogyny that we experience in life as women, as black women without children, that we can redefine what that means. It is not a death sentence. It is not a negative thing. It is a joy. And whatever position you find yourself in your life, you have to decide to make it the best of it, right? Whether you wanted kids and couldn't have them, whether you tried it and couldn't, whether you just made the decision up top that you weren't going to do it, and to hell with what everybody had to say about it, you have to find joy in where you are right now. And so getting to be a black woman is the best thing ever. Like, I ain't saying it ain't hard.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not saying it's not a trial by fire sometimes, but I can't think of nothing else I'd rather be.
Mm-hmm. So sisters sometimes are at different places. And what I strive to do with No Bibs, Burps, Bottles is honor where people are. And a lot of times my platform is highlighting, women over 30, because that 30 is that kind of marker where you got it all together or you don't. But what would Charise say to a child-free sister who's 21, 22, who knows without a doubt, unapologetically, that she doesn't want children, but society or her partner or her family is like, you're 21, you're 22, you'll change your mind. Like, what would Charise, how would you empower her?
I would simply say that being aware of yourself, and that if you've decided this is what you don't want, stand in that. Don't let anybody sway you. And the way that you can avoid being pushed into another direction is to grow more in love with yourself, right? To develop your sense of self, your self-esteem, your self-awareness, all these things that are intrinsic in you. Once you build them up to the point where nobody can push you one way or the other, nobody can change your mind, nobody can shift you from that rock that you're standing on, you can't be moved, and nobody can take you from that point. So they're going to push you, and you're going to might sway. Like, I don't know, but at the end of the day, if you've gotten to the point where you're so in love with you that what everybody else around you is saying doesn't matter, you'll be fine.
Awesome. Because I really want this platform. I want the 21-year-old, the 25-year-old, even the 60-year-old to still be empowered listening to our stories, and people have a right to change their mind. This platform is not about you must not have kids. It's, if that's what you choose, we celebrate you. If you change your mind, we celebrate you. If you want to be a mom, we celebrate you. But we have to be fair in sharing all of these narratives and all of these experiences. Because
they all make up who we are.
Yes.
It's all of us.
It does.
We are a community. Yeah.
Yes, it does. So with that being said, here is the time where I love when I'm talking to my child-free besties, because again, we are so wonderfully made. We're doing so much in our communities, in life in general. So this is your opportunity to shine. And I call this part Shine Like a Diamond. I want you to tell the child-free besties and anyone who's watching and listening to this to let us know, what is Charise up to? What is on the horizon? Where can our guest follow you? So, and I see you smiling. So you got something to share with us. So this is just, let us know where people can follow you and what do you have going on in the future?
Yes, so you can follow me at Best Me Ever Movement on Instagram and on Facebook. If you're lucky enough to be a friend of mine, I'm Charise Bennett on Facebook. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram. And right now I'm in the midst of a 5-day Embracing You challenge, right? It's a free challenge that I'm doing with whoever wants to sign up to get people thinking about how you treat yourself and how you love yourself, right? And launching soon will be the Best Me Ever Bootcamp. It'll be a 3-month group coaching program that I'm putting together because I feel like this message needs to get out to everybody. We need to all be working on being the best version of ourselves because we all have things that we want to achieve. There are goals we want to reach. And to me, the achieving that goal is just on the other side of you believing in yourself. Getting to where you want to be, living in your purpose is just on the other side of you getting past self-doubt and limiting beliefs and getting past the negative self-talk that goes on in your head. So being the success that you see yourself being doesn't have to wait until you lose 40 pounds. It doesn't have to wait until you get married. It doesn't have to wait till you get a new job. All these things can happen right now once you make the decision to love you enough to make all these things happen. So that's the point of the group coaching, the Best Me Ever Bootcamp that's in the works right now. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely go to my website, www.charisebennett.com. or just head over to Instagram because I'll be posting about it all the time. Coming up, I will be a speaker at the Curvy Girls Takeover. It's going to be in September. It's a weekend conference all about the plus size girlies and loving yourself. It's a weekend of self-worth and loving on who you are in the body that you have, right? So I'll be a speaker at that event. It'll be in Chicago in September the 29th and 30th.
Okay.
I'll be a speaker at that event that's coming up. And just other couple little things that are in the works that I don't know for sure where they're going to be yet. But until then, you can follow me on those pages. I will be starting back up my bi-weekly Confidence Confidential. It's my Facebook live show where I just get on and I might interview somebody, maybe you, and just talk about things that are going on. And that happens. So I have a couple reel series where you can follow me. Like I do a weekly reel series called Things I Learned About Myself this week while watching the news or reading Twitter. Like last week, I learned that I will never participate in an activity that has to be measured in the number of hours I have left to complete that activity. If I can't breathe the whole time I'm doing it, if you're telling me I got 96 hours to go see the Titanic and then come back up, I'm not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna measure my air, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Jesus paid it all. So I get to breathe all the air I want. You're not gonna tell me I get 26 hours of it. No, sir. So that's all I know.
Baby Jesus. It's so cute.
Oh yeah, in the book. I guess I'll tell you about that.
Yes.
So my latest Baby Jesus workout journal. It's Dear Baby Jesus, weight loss wishes, workout woes, and words of worship to our wee water walker. So it's a workout journal. So it's a prayer to Baby Jesus every week. There's a meal planning page. There's a page for your workouts, a page for self-reflection because we have to spend more time being mindful of what we're doing. And so you can get that on Amazon and get more of an idea of my sense of humor, which is unique in itself.
Yes.
So those are the things. I'm trying to think if there's something else. No, just the boot camp coming up. The challenge is going on right now, which will probably be over by the time y'all see this. But I'm sure I'll be doing something else by then.
Yes. Too. Yes. And all of it will be in the show notes where they can follow you, see what you're doing, and see all the other things that you have planned. So Charise, sister, it's been awesome chatting with you. And again, the power of social media is real. Right? Our energy, and we kicked it off right in the DMs, and we've continued with it, just connecting with one another. And I felt your spirit and your energy in the DMs, and I feel your spirit and your energy now. And maybe it's just the March babies. That's what it is.
That's what it is. It's that Pisces power. Like
exactly.
You're right.
Pisces power. I love it. I love it. Well, Charise, I want to thank you so much. I'm honored that you've been here with me, and thank you so much for sharing your child-free journey. So I hope that everyone that's listening, that you've also enjoyed our guests. Everything that you would like to know about Charise will be in the show notes. And again, I want to thank you in advance for watching this, for listening to this, and please continue to support No Bibs, Burps Bottles, the #1 platform and online community that empowers, inspires, motivates, and celebrates African-American Black child-free women to live their best child-free life. We end every episode by saying, we want you to remember this: womanhood is not synonymous with motherhood. Until we chat again, peace.
Bye.